So is your trailer supposed to be like a homage to all other films of that genre? Are you doing
we're trying to do something of our own, sort of original, but it's sort of taking everything from everything else. So, but in a sense, I suppose you could say that just makes it completely unoriginal, because there's loads of like different conventions taken on the films, but the fact that we put them all together, we didn't see one that had a problem. So that's going to happen.
So just go back to these two, when you talk about genre in the past, go back to these two words, repetition and difference. That's how genre functions, that's how it works. You have this, one of the things that audience get pleasure from is the fact that things are repeated. So you're working with a formula, they have expectations about the genre, that's why we love genre. But also that in good genre films, something is different, something interests us because it's slightly different. So your genre film, if it's successful, will have elements of that repetition and difference in it. It's a really good question, and you can respond to it in more detail later.
Thank you, Sam.
How many actors do you need in the film?
A few, I'd say. A handful. 5, 6. The casting looks pretty impossible at the moment. That's the hardest thing to do, is casting.
Why is that?
Because we don't want to sort of ruin the whole mise en scène by doing a sort of Bugsy Malone thing. Kids.
With lots of teenage actors.
It's completely ruining it, so we need to try and get grown-ups, as it were, which is tough. So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any sort of like director or film which has inspired you?
Probably the first one we watched. Well, the first two we watched was Django Unchained, the Tarantino movie, and Killing Them Softly. And basically, we watched them, and then we just sort of planned the whole thing from them, took inspiration from them, and then we just went to other places to think what we can do to make it even more interesting and stuff like that. But sort of Tarantino sort of feel to it. Yeah.
So when you say you took inspiration from them, you were saying you're actually looking at kind of shot by shot what they did, and actually one very good practice might be to take one of those opening sequences and kind of go backwards, storyboard it, remake it.
Well, yeah, Mr. Rose.
I've done that.
Yeah, Mr. Rose said to sort of just watch a few, because we found out they were like 2.5 minutes long, and he said just go through them and like just count how many different frames and shots
And what they are like.
transitions there are and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we get it.
That's an excellent thing to do, and if you do that with kind of a number of them, then you can position your own in relation to those, and you kind of know what you're doing in terms of obeying the rules, as it were, and what you're doing in terms of if you do break any rules, but you're actively aware of the fact that you're breaking rules if that's what you end up doing. Good question.
Who's your target audience?
Our target audience is people who like to watch crimes and thrillers, but it's going to be based at over 18s, because we think the whole film will have quite a lot of violence in it, because it's a crime kind of movie. But yeah.
So you have to think about how you manage that in your trailer,
Yeah.
because your trailer may not be an 18. Some films that are 18 have trailers that are not, and you might not be able to film some of the violence that you might be suggesting is going to occur in the actual film.
We're not planning on actually filming violence in the
No.
trailer, but like hinting at what will.
What will come?
So do you have an idea what the storyline of the film will be on the trailer?
Yeah, what we got so far is there's a guy. There's always a guy, and he's basically robbed this boss of something, we don't know what yet, and basically he makes it so he's set up just an average Joe, an unsuspecting average Joe, and basically the whole, like when we watch trailers we figured out that they almost always start with an establishing scene. It doesn't really make sense, but it's just a scene at the beginning, and then they show that, and then they tell the storyline later on, and we've got basically our establishing scene is like two goons in an elevator, and they're going up to get this guy who's robbed the boss, but they don't know like which room he's in, they just know he's on that floor. And then
say that's him. That's the guy they've set up, so he's just an unsuspecting guy. And the whole film just revolves around, like, have they got the right guy, have they got the wrong guy? This guy's just, he doesn't know what's going on. He's just so scared the whole film. And then it's all about, like, sort of how the guy who robbed the boss done it and stuff like that. That's what we thought it might be good to do the voiceover from Goodfellas, because then you can show, like, the main character talking about everything he's done in the trailer.